Okay, well, welcome back everybody to John's Kitchen with Chef John. Today we got a special treat for you. Since Easter is around the corner and Peter Cottondale is coming down the trail, we're going to make some Easter bread. I thought that would be an appropriate thing to do. So let's get started. Don't let me forget, I want to tell you right now, if you want the complete recipe of this, please email me at chefjohnathome. That's ChefJohnathome@gmail.com, and I'll send you the complete recipe so you can have all the ingredients and don't have to worry about writing anything down. But let's go over what we got here. So we're going to start, first we got one package of dry yeast. We got 1 1/4 cups of milk. We have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We got 1/3 cup of unsalted butter. We got 2 large eggs. Now, you might notice that these eggs look pretty yellowish orange. Well, that's because I add about 5 drops of yellow food coloring because I want that bread to have that nice robust yellow look when you cut into it. So you can add about 5 drops to those 2 large beaten eggs. And then we've got a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. We've got 4 cups of flour. Now this is going to make around 6 small mini loaves of Easter bread. Okay, so you can slice and dice it however you want. You can make 3 larger loaves, or you can make 2 larger loaves. Just add some of the other dough that you're going to scale out later. But let's get started with the mixing. First thing we got to do is we've got to heat our butter and our milk in a saucepan. And we got to bring that to about 120 degrees, 130 degrees tops. Don't go over 130 because you'll scald it and you'll lose the effect that we're looking for in this creaminess. So again, 120 degrees, and we'll be back once I get that all heated up, and we'll show you how we're going to get this started. Okay, we're back. Now we've heated our milk and our butter to 120 degrees. So now we're going to dump it into our mixing bowl. Get that all in there. Okay, now we're going to add in all of our sugar and salt. And our egg mixture. And last but not least, we've got to add our yeast. We're just going to give this a good whisk up to get that yeast started, activated. Make sure all that butter is melted. That's good. Let's see if you can see that. It's all mixed in there together good. Just want to make sure that that butter is nice and dissolved in there and the sugar is absorbed, because you don't want that sugar sitting on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to add about 1/2 of the flour. Put our dough hook on. And get your dough hook up. And we're going to mix this for about 2 minutes. And then we'll add the other 1/2 of the flour in there. And then we're going to mix that for about 14 to 16 minutes, just to make sure that it's a nice and stiff dough and it's not sticky. Now you might have to get in there and scrape this a couple of times as you're adding more flour in, because you want to make sure you're getting everything cleaned out of the bowl and not leaving any ingredients in there. All right, we'll be back when this is all mixed up. See you then. Okay, so I just wanted to show you. So this is mixing the first 2 cups of flour. Now I'm slowly adding in the remaining flour. And as you're letting this stay on a low speed, you can just simply add in a spoon around just to use up the rest of the flour and incorporate it in there. And it'll certainly, rather than just dumping it in there, sometimes you dump too much and then it sprays all out at you. So I just like to take my time and add the flour slowly as it's mixing, and works really well that way. So I just wanted to show you how this is mixing up. As you can see, it's Still a little sticky, but it's in its initial stages. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. And if it doesn't clean up the sides of the bowl like this was doing, then I would just say just stop, scrape it down, and then restart again. But this is coming along good. As you can see, it's cleaning up. It's a sticky dough, but as it mixes, it will become a much more firm dough. Okay, so I want to show you, so we're about 12 minutes into mixing, and with any recipe that's not a box mix when you're baking from scratch, so many factors come into play: humidity, temperature, the milling of the flour from one batch to another. So I've added about an additional 1/4 cup of flour. I've scraped this twice, and as you can see, it's cleaned the bowl, excellent. It's incorporated, and we'll see what the final touch looks like. But this is going to be a good mix. All right, don't forget, always scrape, and if you need to add a little bit more flour, don't hesitate. You can just start like adding a spoon at a time, a teaspoon, a tablespoon at a time, and until you get finally cleaned up on the bottom, that's when you know you're at the perfect flour ingredient measure. Okay, so our dough has mixed at this point for about 14 minutes, and I just want to show you a little trick of how you can tell if your dough is truly mixed. Now you can see it's got a nice texture. That stickiness is still a little bit sticky, tacky to the touch, but it's not going to stick to your hands. So just tear off a little piece of dough, and then I want you to just slowly and gently stretch it. Now what we're looking for here is that we can get right down to a thin membrane layer, and you can see through the veins that this dough is almost translucent because it's so mixed perfectly. Does that make sense? So just take a little piece of dough, stretch it. If it's all veiny, then you got to continue to mix it a little bit more. But when it's nice and clear, that you can almost see right through it, it's like translucent, then you know you got a perfect mix. And I can tell just by the feel, this is awesome. Okay, so we're going to take a bowl with a little canola oil. Take our dough out here. See how it just comes right out of the bowl. It's perfectly mixed. Just give this a little bit of a knead, ball it up. And we're going to cover this with a saran wrap. And now it's got to rise for about an hour covered. So please keep the drafts away, because the draft will kill that and you'll lose your rise. The second thing is you can either put it on the top of your stove if you want to preheat your oven. Just make sure that it's not overheating, because you want it to slowly rise. But I cheat the system, and I like this trick. I take a heating pad and I throw it on my dining room table with a towel on it, and I just put it on medium heat, and I put this bowl on top of it, cover it with saran wrap and a towel, and it rises beautifully, nice and slow. All right, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so we're back at John's Kitchen, and you can see this is doubled in size. It's about maybe 5 minutes over, so about an hour and 5 minutes. So we're going to take this out, and I just want to weigh this to see what the total weight of this dough is. So we've got about 2 pounds, 10 ounces. Okay, so what I've done here is normally I would take this and make 6 balls of approximately 7-ounce pieces of dough, but I'm only going to make 2 small ones, and then I'm going to make 2 larger ones. So I've got 2 at 14 ounces, and I've got 2 at 7 ounces, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just ball these up loosely, let them sit there. Cover these up. right, so we're going to cut this one in half. So we've got basically 2 pieces. And then we're just going to make a rope. We're going to roll this out to about 12 to 14 inches long. Oh, this still feels perfect. Then we're just going to take these 2 pieces of dough and we're going to pinch the one end like so. And then we're going to take it and we're just going to roll it and braid it. And over here, our baking sheet, and we're going to put it over here, and then we'll start on our second one. So you're just rolling it out just to get any air that's left in there. And again, it's just a hair sticky, but that's normal. That's the way it should be. You want it to be that nice and moist, tacky to it, tackiness. And then you're just rolling it out to get, again, any air out. And then to give it that little bit of a braid look. So we just pinch the end. Then we take the other end where the 2 pieces were loose. And then we're just going to roll it to get that braid. And then we'll take the ends and pinch those together. We're going to put those on our pan. And now we're going to cover these and let these rise. So we're going to cover it with saran wrap. And again, my little trick is I like to use in my dining room. I put a towel down and then I put 2 heating pads in between the towel. And then I put the pans on top of it so it stays just warm enough so that they can continue to rise. And then they'll be ready to bake. So we'll get this going. I'm going to put those on there. I'll make the other 2 big ones and then we'll catch you in a bit and we'll see how these are ready to go in the oven. Okay, so now I'm making the bigger loaves. And what I've done here is I've cut them into 3 pieces. And this first one here, I'm just going to make a braid loaf. So again, I've just taken all the air out, flattened it. Start out with a ball, flatten it out, roll it. Pat down the seam and then roll it out. So you want these to be about 12 inches long. Oh, this is going to be so good. After these bake, well actually before they bake, we'll let them rise and then we'll give them an egg wash. See, I take 1 egg and then I add like just a half a teaspoon of milk and beat it up. And this gives it a nice sheen and color when it bakes. All right, so we're going to take our 3 pieces and we're going to start at the end. We're going to crisscross them and then we're just going to pinch and seal the end here. Then we're going to flip it over and then we're going to start the braiding process. But before we do that, let me get my eggs. So my grandkids were nice enough to color the eggs for me. So now we'll add an egg in here. And then we'll add another one down here. So you have just a nice little braided loaf. And then we'll put that on our pan. And then again, I just take this and it's 14 ounces. So I'll cut them into 3 pieces. You don't even need any flour, as you'll notice. I'm working just on a cutting board, no flour, because this dough is just so pliable. It's moist enough, but not to the point where it's really wet and sticky, so it's really good to work with. There we go. Okay, so we've got these all rolled out and ready to go. Pinch the one end down, flip it over. We'll add another egg in here. And this one we'll just make like a little horseshoe. We'll put that on our pan to rise. You want to make sure you give enough space too, so that as they rise and they bake in the oven, that they don't stick to each other. So we've got enough space in between these, and they'll have enough space to rise. All right, we'll catch you back when these are risen and ready to go in the oven. We're gonna bake it at 350. And again, before we bake it, we're gonna egg wash it with our egg wash mixture. Then we're gonna bake it, let them come out, cool, and then we're gonna make a traditional anise glaze, which goes perfectly with the Easter tradition. All right, we'll catch you in a bit. Okay, so now let's just recap. So we've mixed our dough. We let it rise for an hour. We balled it up. Then we formed our loaves. Then we let it rise again for another hour. And now we're ready to bake. So you can see the dough is rising. The bread sizes have doubled. So now we're going to do our egg wash step. Again, we just have 1 egg with about a teaspoon of milk. And then we're just going to gently wash the tops of these with a brush. It's going to give it a nice finished color. Don't want to go too hard because you'll kill the rising effect. Now, if you don't want to add the eggs, you could add sesame seeds if you want. Some people like to put some raisins in the dough, and because it's really a sweet dough. You really will enjoy this. Makes great toast. Eat it with just bread and butter. But that flavor that we're going to put on there with the anise frosting glaze is to die for. My grandkids love this bread. They would eat this whole loaf by themselves if I let them. Okay, so we've got these all egg washed. Now on these small ones here, I didn't add the egg because I wanted them to puff up. So I'm going to add the egg in there now. Just put that right on top, like so. And then we're going to put these in the oven. Now I've also got a little trick here. I put a baking pan, a 13 by 9 in the bottom of the oven, and then I throw some ice cubes in there. And this gives it a little bit of steam effect, and it helps it really rise during that initial baking, those first few minutes. So we're going to put these in the oven. And then we're going to throw that ice in there. And it just gives it that nice little steam effect. You know, when I had my bakery, some of you might not know, I had a bakery years ago in New York, and the ovens were steam injected. So that first minute you would turn on the steam, gives it that nice sheen and crust on the outside. But this is just kind of a simulation, gives it a little bit of steam and moisture in there. So put a baking pan on the bottom of the oven, throw some ice cubes in, and they'll just melt and evaporate. All right, we're going to be back when this is done. We're going to bake this for about, I'd say maybe 12 to 18 minutes. We're going to keep an eye on it. And if the top starts to brown too soon, we're going to add some foil on top. Just loosely put it over the top, and that'll stop the top from browning further and allow the bottom to bake through. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so these just came out of the oven, so that was 20 minutes for these small ones. The little bigger ones, they were double the size. They're taking a few minutes longer, but that's okay. So now what we want to do is immediately take these off the pan, and you can see how nice and cooked they are on the bottom. Beautiful. They smell so good. And we're going to let those cool, and then we're going to get prepared. Once they cool, we're going to take some confectionery sugar and some anise flavoring, and we're going to make a really thick glaze that we're going to frost these with. And then we'll add some sprinkles, some decorations, and I'll tell you what, they are so freaking good. I can't wait to taste it. We'll see you when the large loaves get done. Okay, and we let those go for another 2 minutes, and those look absolutely gorgeous. Get these off, and ooh, they are hot. Oh, and you can see how beautiful those look with the eggs in there. Once we frost these, oh, they're going to be so good. But the bottoms are nice and cooked, so we've got a beautiful Easter bread. Okay, now while I was waiting while those were baking, I was doing some Christmas wrapping. So if you want to have to serve these to other guests or bring them to family events, just take some corrugated cardboard, get some tin foil, and wrap them like you're wrapping a Christmas gift. And I got those for the small and these for the other 2 large ones. So we're all set to go. All right, so again, to wrap this up, these took about 20 minutes for the small ones, and they took about 22 minutes for the larger ones. And we're going to let those cool, and then we'll be back to make the glaze. Oh, I did want to say one thing. Again, if you want this recipe, make sure that you send me an email. Send it to chefjohnathome@gmail.com. That's CHEFJOHNATHOME@gmail.com. And I'll send you this recipe. And one more special thanks. This goes out to my sister Marilyn, because this year I'm actually trying her recipe that she gave me, and it looks tremendous. So I can't wait to taste it. So thank you, Marilyn. Okay, well, we're headed to the finish line, folks. So everything is baked, cooled, and now we're gonna frost these. So what I started with is a cup of confectionery sugar, 4.5 teaspoons of milk, and a half teaspoon of anise extract. And this is about the consistency you want it. It's gotta be nice and thick, almost like a taffy, because we're gonna glaze these, frost them, and then we're gonna decorate them with some sprinkles. So just take it, pick it up, stick your fingers in there, and have some fun. Just glaze all around. And when you're all done, take your sprinkles, and there you have it. Beautiful Easter bread. Okay, well, let's get the rest of these glazed and we'll be right back. Okay, well, we've hit the finish line, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, it's a delicious recipe for Easter bread. As you can see, they're all glazed, all got finished sprinkles on there, whatever you'd like to put on there. You could just do plain frosting. But I've got these now on their presentation boards. We'll cover them with some saran wrap, and we're gonna enjoy this. So if you like this video, give it a like, share it, and if you want the recipe, send me an email directly to chefjohn@home@gmail.com. That's CHEFJOHNATHOME@gmail.com. And as they say in Italy, Buona Pasqua.